Let me read to you a passage from the 12th chapter of St. Mark's Gospel, verses 13 to 17. It's the Gospel for Tuesday of the 9th week in Ordinary Time. St. Mark writes, "Later they sent some of the Pharisees and Herodians to Jesus to catch him in his words. They came to him and said, 'Teacher, we know you are a man of integrity. You are not swayed by men, because you pay no attention to who they are, but you teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay or should we not?' But Jesus knew their hypocrisy. 'Why are you trying to trap me?' he asked. 'Bring me a denarius and let me look at it.' They brought the coin, and he asked them, 'Whose portrait is this? And whose inscription?' 'Caesar's,' they replied. Then Jesus said to them, 'Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's.' And they were amazed at him." That's from Mark chapter 12, verses 13 to 17. What does it suggest to us? Well, it speaks to us of citizenship. You know, in some Christian groupings, there is found a notion of religion that ignores and somewhat despises the social, economic, and political situation, with the duties and challenges it contains. In terms of religion, all that matters is each individual's personal response to the directly saving action of Christ. Speaking broadly, it addresses the personal longing of the human heart for union with God and is content to leave out of sight the state of society and the world. By contrast, there is a view of the Christian message that places principal emphasis on the unjust and oppressive conditions of society and its culture, and leaves the directly spiritual dimension of religion to look after itself. In this perspective, the thrust of religion is towards liberation from injustices and temporal oppression. A case could be made for saying that over the centuries, the tendency of the chosen people of God, the children of Israel, was towards a religion of liberation from oppression. And it had its roots in sacred history. Abraham was called from Ur of the Chaldees to a promised land. It was a very material promise. Moses was sent to lead the children of Israel out of their slavery to the promised land. Judges were raised up to lead the people in defense against attack. David established the kingdom over his enemies. A Messiah was promised, and as was clear in the time of our Lord and in the Gospels, he was expected to be a political liberator who would inaugurate a marvelous era of plenty and freedom from external menaces. An image of religion such as this, involving the thought of divine promises, tended to alienate the adherent from any civil authority that was not his own creation. The natural desire for freedom from material burdens and civil obedience was thus perceived as having the sanction of religion. It had been religious to resist Pharaoh, so it was religious to resist the Romans and their taxes. The problem was that this resistance would bring terrible political sanctions. Was it then in accord with the divine plan not to cooperate with the foreign authority? Should one, say, pay taxes? We are told in the Gospel that this question was formulated with the intent of ensnaring Jesus Christ into making a statement that would bring him into collision either with the people who hung on his lips and who looked for political liberation, or with the Roman authorities who, of course, imposed their taxes. It framed a question, though, that asked whether revealed religion embraced the world and its requirements, or was hostile to it, or at best ignored it. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? God is our King and Lord, and he has his laws for us. Yet here we are collaborating with godless oppressors by paying the taxes which they impose. That was the objection. Our Lord could have entered into a long and subtle disquisition on civil liberty and civil duties, and the extent to which the Roman authority had the right to regulate civil life and to tax in order to fund this. But he simply gave a general rule in response to a general question. Was it lawful to pay taxes to the Roman authority? Give to the civil authority what is theirs, and to God what is his. That was his answer. One's duty to God is not in conflict with one's duty to civil authority. One must live in the world respecting the requirements and duties of both orders. Religion is not an exclusive relation with God alone. In God, it includes one's relationship with the world. In general terms, therefore, taxes were lawful and they ought to be paid. God is not thereby dethroned, for his plan and law embraces one's duties to the world. The man of revealed religion is, therefore, to be a good citizen. He is not often an insurrectionist, and if ever he believes he must resist civil authority, he does so with the spirit of Christian love. Of course, to say all this is not to resolve many agonizing particular questions, but Christ's response to this antagonistic question gives us, his disciples, an orientation. We must be oriented towards being good citizens, respectful of political and civil authority, and disposed to cooperate with its legislation and requirements. One's duty to God does not conflict with this. Rather, in general, it requires it, because God himself is the ultimate cause of civil authority, ultimately. When Jesus Christ stood in front of Pontius Pilate, he was gazing at the representative of Caesar. Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, he had said to those who had just handed him over. Calmly he tells Pilate that any power over him he had been conferred on him from above. And our Lord was not just referring to Pilate's appointment as procurator by Caesar. He was referring to the divine origin of civil authority. Because God creates and sustains society, he creates and sustains the civil authority which necessarily regulates it. So this authority must be respected. We must be good citizens if we wish to please God. Religion includes citizenship, and citizenship includes, of course, endeavouring to make civil authority all it should be according to God's plan.